And no audio.
We have no audio from the meeting.
There we go. Okay, I get to say everything again. Welcome, everybody. My name is Carl, N7CJR president, and thank you for logging in to Zoom and everybody that came.
Okay, so I guess
I'm trying to get it onto this earphone.
Okay. So is David online?
Yes, I'm online.
If you want to go ahead and introduce Ross, we'll get the presentation started.
Fantastic. I'd like to welcome Ross, W7ROV, to the microphone. He's going to be speaking specifically about Aries and things related to Aries. And I think you'll find his experience worthwhile to hear. So thank you, Ross, and over to you.
Thanks, David. Scott, can I share my screen? Let's see. Oh, something's happening. Can everyone see that?
Oh, that is. Yeah.
We can see it on Zoom.
Very good. Well, good morning, Mike and Key. I'm glad to see you all here on this brisk Saturday morning. The last I checked, the coffee's almost out. So, but my name's Ross VanDeen. I'm Whiskey 7 Romeo Oscar Victor. And I hope you enjoy my presentation. I kind of went back to my old Boeing days, so it might be bigger than it needs to be, but we can get through it. So let's see here. Okay, Aries, Amateur Radio Emergency Service. That's what I'm going to talk about. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the difference. Let's see here. First thing I'm going to talk about is how to, oh, there he is that the difference between Aries and Races. Aries and Races are both amateur radio services. However, Aries is activated both before and during an emergency. Races is much more constrained, and it will only be activated after the fact, you know, when the emergency is happening. So, of course, Aries has to abide by part 97 rules, and Races, you're really constrained on who you can talk to and what you can communicate. So, and to register for Aries is really quite simple. You can go to the ARRL website and get form FSD-98. And I sent mine into Maple Valley since I'm a member of the Maple Valley Aries crew. Now, I thought I'd go through a little bit of brief history here. I don't know how many of you were around when Mount St. Helens blew up in 1980. but I was here. I was born and raised in this area, and what you can see there is Mount Rainier erupting and the two bridges over the Toutle and Cowlitz rivers being overwhelmed by the lahar, the mud flow. So at that point, there was 300 Washington Aries members, and they transmitted a total of 3,000 messages throughout the event. And have you ever been up to Johnston Observatory? It's on Johnston Ridge. So there was David Johnston. He was working for the USGS, and he was sitting there with his little camper watching Mount Rainier, and he was, or Mount St. Helens, St. Helens, and he was reporting, and he figured he was far enough away. But here's an example of how an Aries is activated prior to the emergency. Jerry Martin, W6TQF, he was 2 miles north. I think he was north. And he heard David say, Vancouver, this is it. But they never heard him. So Jerry repeated that and gave a detailed report to Vancouver USGS. And he said, the camper and the car just to the south of me are covered. It's going to get to me next. And then the radio was silent. So he was very important in the whole scenario that worked out. Another one was the Nisqually earthquake in 2001. How many of you guys were at the Nisqually earthquake? Or, yeah, there were a lot of people. And I can remember that because I was in a ham at the time, but cell phones were down. You couldn't talk to anybody. But I was working at Boeing in Renton, and one of my engineering coworkers, he was a ham. We walked out to his car. He pulled out his handy-talkie, contacted his wife. Everything was okay. Everybody else was just staring at their cell phones, like, what, what's going on? So, and an important part about that is that one of the emergency preparedness managers in Bellevue, they said if another Nisqually happened today, we'd be much more prepared. And that part of that emergency operations center would have a communications room staffed by amateur radio operators. That's us. And then more recently, there was the Oso mud flow. Probably a lot of you remember that. And remember the Snohomish County Department of Emergency Management said they really needed the ham radios out there. So these things, we started in 1980, we ended up 2014. We have a very short memory. Are we ready to do this today if something like this occurs? So, and why amateur radio? Hams are just about everywhere. There's a lot of hams. Oh, did anyone participate in the repeat last weekend? There's a lot of us. So there's over 500 hams presently active in the MCOM in King County. And there are 25 local teams within the county. And I'm a member of the Maple Valley team, so I'm one of those members. Hams are flexible too, because we can go anywhere. I'm sure a lot of you were at field day, or you do POTA, or you just do portable operations just for the fun of it. So, and hams are pretty disciplined. And when an agency needs our help, they will call us up. We just don't dive right in. And we are there to augment, not to replace the pros and to let them do their job. So, and most teams are already vetted in credentials. And just for the heck of it, I wore my Maple Valley emergency worker card. So I'm credentialed, and I know there's other people in the room that are credentials too. So hams are pretty self-sustaining too. We have multiple frequency bands. You know, anything from 160 meters to microwave, depending on what our interests in. So, and even slow scan TV. So, and we have a huge amount of local repeaters. Now, the repeaters are limited to a certain extent, because if they lose power, then we're down to simplex. But that's okay. And from a training and exercising, there's ARRL courses. To get my Maple Valley credential, I had to take the FEMA IS 100, 200, and 700 ICS training, which is really not very difficult. The primary aspect of this training is to understand the protocol that's used during an emergency, which is important because everyone just can't be on the radio at the same time, like we all know. There's Skywar and CERT, Red Cross training. There's local and statewide national exercises, public service events like parades, fun runs, Seafair is one. There's the Black Diamond Triathlon that I've participated in. And they like to have ham radio communication support. And the bicyclists and the runners, when they pass you and you've got your radio, they thank you because they are glad to see you and you're a big help. But it gives you the opportunity to use the skills that you use if who do we talk to? Well, primarily the emergency operations centers. So there's state, county, there's local EOCs, Seattle, Bellevue, Maple Valley. There's a lot of them. Local fire and police station, NGOs, the National Weather Service, the Port of Seattle, depending on if it's a maritime operation or not, corporations, and a lot of these entities have their own dedicated hams. So we would activate only at the request of the served agencies. And it's really important to remember that ARES ham members are not first responders. If there was an earthquake or Mount Rainier had some kind of issue, then the local EOCs would say, hey, we need some communications, and they call us up. And then we would have prearranged frequencies or get an assignment, and that would all be part of the training. And typical assignments are staff EOC radios, exchanging tactical formal information, shadow, which served agency leadership, where you'd be like if the mayor was surveying an area and they needed to communicate with one of the EOCs, then you'd probably be the route that they'd take to communicate. And then there's a related task. There's stealth, damage assessment, severe weather spotting, public safety, those kinds of things. We'd be observing too and say, oh man, that doesn't look safe over there. So we'd report that, and hopefully that would be addressed. And of course, we all pride ourselves with our ability to be self-sufficient. But having pre-installed equipment is also handy. Like at the Maple Valley Emergency Operations Center, we do have some computers and I think a radio that it's already there waiting for us. So the equipment is typically primarily you'd want to have 2 meter, 70 centimeter, a mobile radio, NVIS setup. So because if something happens like the Nisqually earthquake, you want to have regional communication. So NVIS is what that's all about. And Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock on 3.84 megahertz, I run an NVIS net. So I'd really love to hear more people on that. And so that's just a little plug. Terminal node controllers handy, 6 meter capabilities handy also. So and this is a map of the Homeland Security coordination districts, and the Aries districts are the same. So we're primarily in region 1, 6, 5, and 3. And I believe we have Mike and Key members in each one of these regions, because Mike and Key as a club has got a pretty big footprint. This is a chart of the various nets that you can tune into, the day, the time, the frequency, and all the information you need. And I only covered region 1, 6, 5, and 3 here. And then at the bottom is a link to the full document. And then within Washington State, there's 1,223 Aries members. There's 1,229 events, and 34,869 hours, which is equivalent to, almost $850,000. So in Washington, there's 188 novices, 18,749 techs, 8,139 generals, 1,138 advanced, and 5,717 extras, for a total of 33,931 hams. And this is as of 2017. This is the latest information I could get. But the bottom line is about 3.6% of Washington hams are Aries members. And if we assume the same number as for Mount St. Helens, 25% of all Aries supported the Mount St. Helens eruption. So, okay, we've joined Aries. How do we practice? Well, there are communication drills, and the Aries teams also support activities such as Bigfoot. And I'm sure some of you are aware of what Bigfoot is. It's a 200-mile run around Mount St. Helens. It's really a neat thing. And then there's Ramrod, which is a bicycle race. This year they started at the Enumclaw High School and ended at the Enumclaw High School. And and you use the communications protocol that you would use for an emergency. And that's how a great way to practice. And besides that, it's a heck of a lot of fun to be involved in these things. And then more locally, there's parades, there's triathlons, various community events that we can use our communication skills. So this is just a slide that shows where you can go get your training, and it's all online. It's not terribly difficult. It's like most things. The hard part is the jargon, the words. So, and there's a link there to get that. And so in a nutshell, as an emergency communicator, we perform a valuable service to the community, especially in times of natural and man-made disasters. Another thing that going to local events like this does is we are visible to the public. They know we're there. They know we're available and we want to help. So, and to perform these tasks, we have to be prepared and ready to assist in these assignments. And so you've got to be prepared to provide your own equipment. Now, if you've done a POTA or field day or something like that, then you already have the equipment. You might not have the whole entire spectrum of frequencies that you could, or bands that you can utilize, but most of us have 2 meters, 70 centimeters. A lot of us have HF. And I'm sure that a lot of people are like me that have quite a collection of antennas, depending on what you want to do. So the goal of this part of the presentation is get you familiar with what a Go kit is, and give you some ideas on how to prepare that. And I can tell you, just preparing this presentation, I got some really good ideas on what a Go kit looks like. So this is just a day pack, and it's recommended, keep it in your car. Like when I drove down here, I brought my handheld. I don't have the rest of it, but I have a hat, I got gloves, and spare batteries. There's a whistle, nylon rope, a small first aid kit. Probably most of us have that in the car already. And then there's the Aries first response manual, resources manual. So this is kind of just a, have it in your car in case you need it. And then for a longer deployment, like for 24 hours, you'd have that plus additional water, steel cup, towelettes, maybe some Ziploc bags, a poncho and a blanket, and some food. And then it's quite possible that in an event like the Oso mudslide, you'd probably be there for more than a day or two. And this is where Ramrod is real helpful, because I think Ramrod lasts a week. Yeah, so you could be out there a week. Or a Bigfoot. I got confused. Ramrod's a day. It's on Thursday. But it's only a day. So you might want to have more equipment and just have it in your house so you can grab it when you need it. And then for your radio, this is a good example of what a radio box might look like. You got the radio, a clock is important, power pole distribution, some sort of power supply. Myself, I have 2 solar panels and a Jackery power station, 2 of those. And that works really great when it's sunny out. Otherwise, I could bring a generator if I wanted, but this is the kind of stuff that you'd want to have for your radio. And then, of course, if you can't hear them, you can't talk to them. So you need an antenna. And there's various flavors of antennas, and HF, VHF, UHF. Ed Fong makes a really nice, inexpensive roll-up J-pole that I've got one of them, and it's really quite exceptional. So those are my feet. This is at Ramrod. We were at Cayuse Pass. I was at Cayuse Pass. I was in section Delta, right on the border with section Charlie. And that's my 81 FT818, and headphones and a foot switch. Headphones are important because in certain locations it could get pretty noisy, or you may want to have your conversations more private than not. So and there's my solar panel there. Here's another picture, and you can see the Jackery underneath the rear tire of the Jeep. And then at the back of the Jeep, I built a mast, and I had a Comet CX333 mounted on top of that, and that was my antenna. And then right behind the radio, the FT818, I've got a 50-watt VHF amplifier, which is small, compact, doesn't use a lot of power, but man, it really provides extra punch. So I was able to easily contact or communicate with the Crystal Mountain repeater. And that's me looking like I was actually talking on the radio. Now, this is a picture from Bigfoot. And this is from 2020, I think. And that's kind of the camping area. And there's an operator So I don't know who he was, but and then those are the kinds of things that you can do to practice our skills. Now, does Mike and Key have an Aries present in our community? And for the King County MCOM, Washington State, Amateur MCOM, ARRL Aries in regions 1, 6, 5, and 3, I couldn't find anything. Nothing formal. We do identify some events, but I don't think that really helps. So what I'd like to see is that Mike and Key establish an Aries team and then contact the various Aries teams around the area, such as Maple Valley. And that way we can have an affiliation and we can share resources. And if there's an event, then there's more manpower available. So, and I think that the membership would be interested in this. Now, one.
So I have a question.
Big
Why
Mark?
do you join the local areas to live all over to this time?
Right. That's why I said this would provide Mike and Key with a much bigger footprint because we have members in regions 1, 6, 5, and 3. We're very, very large. There's members in Everett, down in Thurston County, Pierce County, King County, even in King County. I live in Enumclaw. There's really not an Aries team there. That's why I'm a member of the Maple Valley Aries. But we have very limited resources. So if we had an Aries team and we became affiliated with the smaller outlying communities Aries teams, then we can help them and they can help us and we can share resources. And there are a lot of members that are already credentialed like myself, but I'm credentialed in Maple Valley, not in Seattle or Renton or something like that, but we could certainly share resources. So that's the end of my presentation. And I've got this set up such that we can put the folder on Groups.io or some other way to distribute it to the membership. And then there's some very helpful links here. One of the neatest ones, I think, is the WinLink training for email over HF. And you just need to get your radio set up and load some software like Vera, and you're on the air. And then there's the ARRL message format. There's the King County Aries Master Frequency Reference List. There's recurring problems during race season Aries exercises. So if you read that, you can learn what not to do and learn from the exercises. I got those pictures for the Go Kits from this paper, Personal Go Kit for Emergency Communications. And if you go up right at the bottom, there's a citation where that picture came from. So, and then there's information for served agencies and organizations in King County. And then in October, really, I wrote an article on Aries, and that's the last link. So I hope that's kind of stirred up some yeah, that's a great idea. We should do that. And I think we could really help ourselves and the communities we live in by becoming Aries members, and it helps out the community, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
What are your two favorite portable NVIS?
Well, yeah, one of the question was, what are my two favorite portable NVIS antennas? The one I've got at home, since we're planning on moving to Kentucky, so I'm not going to be I'm not building anything permanent at home, so I'm virtually all portable all the time. But I've got a Chameleon LEFS 8010 end-fed dipole, end-fed half-wave dipole, and I've got that set up as 80 meters, and I've got that set up, and I'm only using 2 painter poles, and so that's one. And then I for our Envis net last Tuesday, I set up my Chameleon MCOM 3 portable antenna in a inverted V configuration, and that worked really well. So from that perspective, I think those are my 2 favorite antennas. 80 meters and 40 meters are challenging just because of the footprint that's required, but it's not too bad. I've got a buddy pole, but it doesn't go down to 80 meters.
You can make
Yeah, you can with a tuner.
wires.
Yeah,
And it works well.
yeah.
And it's real important.
I'll have to try that. So it's like I've got so many antennas now that I haven't had an opportunity to use them all. Any other questions?
I'll have a plug, Ross.
A plug?
Yeah, I'm going to make a plug. This is David W7DAO.
Hi, David.
We're going to have sometime in 2024. I don't want to pick a date yet, but there'll be lots of warning. A Radio Go Kit presentation and show and tell. So stay tuned for that. Advance notice in the relay.
Yeah, that's great, David, because right now I'm trying to put together a Radio Go box. And one of the things I came across was I just didn't know how big I needed. So I started doing a volumetric analysis. I've got all the mechanical dimensions and the size of the radios, the amplifiers, the tuners, batteries, power pole distribution. The more you get into it, oh yeah, I need that too, and a speaker and things like that. So I'm trying to figure out how much volume I need, and then I'll need to lay it out in the most efficient manner, and then I got to find a container or a box that's rugged enough to actually handle the picking it up, taking it out wherever and setting it up. And so I'll be looking forward to that, David. That's going to be great.
Well, I'll just give a quick 2 cents. I have two basic radio kits. One is for quick and easy. That's a G90 battery and all of the stuff I need basically in a small ammo case. And the other is a rolling Pelican case that basically can hold my entire shack.
Yeah, and each of those serve a different purpose.
Right.
So if you're just going to drive up with your motorhome or your RV or your Jeep or something, then the roll up, I've got one of those. That'll work fine. If you've got to actually walk or hike any distance, then that's not going to work. So it depends on your application too.
Yep. All right. Thank you for letting me make the plug.
Just FYI, right now, both Home Depot and Harbor Freight have some really good boxes. They're toolbox, heavy duty plastic toolboxes, waterproof and so forth, in varying sizes at about 40% off for Black Friday. So they're good through Monday.
There you go. And
Okay.
my roll around kit is a Harbor Freight Bauer deal. The only thing that I wish it had was larger wheels, but they didn't design it for a ham radio guy. They designed it for a carpenter or something, but that works great. And they're waterproof, they're dust proof, they're really, really rugged, and they're not that difficult to wrestle around. I've taken that on several POTUS. So, any other questions, comments?
Because there's so many handy talkies out there, does Aries recommend a particular format like 2 meter and 440 or whatever, or do they have to have a lot of complexity, including 220?
I haven't seen a lot of 220, but I do think 220 is handy. I've got a VX6 with 220 and it works amazingly well with our repeater. From a handy talkie perspective, I haven't seen anything that ARRL recommends, pro or con, but personally, I've got my Yaesu FD3D, which has been replaced by the 5D. It's a dual band VHF, UHF, and I think importantly, it's got APRS. So having APRS, I think, is a real asset for a remote operation, because if you do come across maybe like Bigfoot, where you find somebody that's injured on the trail and you have APRS, then you can transmit the lat long to wherever those people are need help, and you can get assistance there a lot quicker than a bunch of guys with dogs. So that's just my opinion. And the Kenwood TH75A is coming out. I'm really waiting to hear when it's available. Yeah, it's got 220 at 5 watts and APRS. It's got a built-in terminal node controller. It's really a nice radio. It's gonna be pricey though. Yeah, it makes the FT3 and the FT5 look like a real bargain. So, but I got a DigiRig for my radio, and I'll use that with the VX6. And the DigiRig is a great device if you want to use like WinLink. And yeah. So there's really the only recommendation is you need 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and one that works. And then, everything else is wide open. Any other questions, comments? And one thing I want to tell you guys is I am no expert. It's just that I'm interested in this stuff. I thought it'd be great to bring it up, and collectively we can enhance our knowledge. Go ahead.
Hi, Andrew, KK7.
Hi, Andrew.
Going. So a thing that I've seen a lot of gaining prominence lately, especially because of how low power and everything is, and I'm wondering if it's something that's coming out with, like, for the emergency stuff. LoRa, have you seen any like LoRa device integration into the emergency stuff that you've been working with?
What kind of stuff?
LoRa, it's a long range, but it's the low power.
Not really. I mean, if you're long range, low power sounds like HFQRP to me. So
yeah, it's not in the ham band. It's ham bands. It's actually in the industrial and scientific bands. But there's a lot of that stuff getting pushed out. Like and because it's outside of the ham bands, a lot what you see is a lot of people are kind of like engineering these like encrypted two-way text messages and that kind of thing. So it's really cool. But
You mentioned the scientific band, that's part 97 and that's I delivered 25 watts. I thought you had near the gigabit exam. That's part 27.
yeah, and we have to observe part 97, and so encryption is out of the game. But it's like my setup that I showed you on the picture of Ramrod. I've got my FT818. It's got an output power of 6 watts, but if I run that into my RM Italy LA144, which can give me up to 70 watts of output, I can go a great distance, especially if you're a higher altitude like Cayuse Pass. So and if we want long range, then, you know, a HFQRP rig, which the FT818 is a very good radio for that, or an ICOM 705, a small KX2 would be great. There's a lot of QRP HF radios out there, and with the right antenna, you can like on my FT818, I've easily talked to Northern Idaho with an NVIS antenna with only five watts. So
Yeah, I had my own like low power experience this week with like shocking range. And actually with this, I hit Tokyo on 10 meters with 20 watts. I got a really good signal report, and I was using the speaker wire antenna off of a Jaegu G90. So it's like it's amazing. So
yeah,
okay, maybe a little bit, but I've only had my license for a month, so
yeah,
Yep, with the sunspot activity, 10 meters, the surf is up. Get
yeah,
your board.
yeah. And next week, next Wednesday during the TechNet, we're going to have a discussion on 6 meters. So that'll be good. So it's and then if you guys have ever had an opportunity to talk to Dean N7SX XS, he can basically, Dean's been there, done that. So he can help you out, and he loves to help. So that's one reason field day is so great, because you get everybody in a concentrated spot and you can learn a lot. Any other questions? All right. So I don't know if I'm over time or under time. I'm on time. So we'll figure out some way to get all this information to you if you want it. Like I said, I have it all encapsulated in a folder. So it's a fairly large file, not something we want to just email around. But I think the group's IO page, we could put it there, and then if you want it, you just go download it. I don't know how to do that though. So, but anyhow, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to show you this. I hope it's been helpful, and it stimulates some discussion and gets our juices flowing so we can do what I proposed. Because I think if Mike and Key, just because it's got such a big footprint and inertia, can affiliate with the smaller organizations surrounding us, then we'll have a much better impact, make everybody more capable. So thanks a lot. Let's see here. Get to unshare. Okay, I'll get this out of your way.
I think we're at about 1/4 right now. About 11 o'clock. Is that all right? Sounding good? Thanks, Ross. That was good motivation and good information. So we appreciate you.
Yes.
I think you are at least a little bit more of an expert than most of us. So
That's okay.
yeah. So 11 o'clock, we'll start the business meeting. Part of the day. Thank you.